Okay, hello everyone, good day. So for today, I am going to discuss our last chapter for our finals. So this is about cost theory and estimation. So chapter 5. So I apologize if the video could upload due to some technical issues. Okay. Um, so let's just continue. So um, we are on again the last topic. This is more on the cost theory and estimation. So we are done with theory of the firm. Now this theory focus more on cost. Okay, sa itong gasto and how to estimate it. Sorry. So this is our lesson roadmap for today. We have objectives, nature of cost, relation of production and cost functions, short-run cost functions, long-run cost functions, and economies and diseconomies of scale. So medyo daghan, gyapon natong i-discuss for this chapter. Still, hopefully, we can cover them one by one. So let's continue. So the objective for this chapter is to recognize the different concepts of cost relevant to production. So we need to recognize what are those concepts regarding cost that is um, that affects our production on how we produce our goods and services in our business. Next is contrast explicit and implicit cost. So what are these type of costs? Distinguish fixed and variable costs in production. So what are those fixed and different types of fixed and variable costs? Solve per unit cost and illustrate the derivation of the various cost curves of the firm. So this is our objective under this chapter. More on we knowing what are the different costs available, how can we illustrate them in our curves, and how can we solve each of those costs. So first is what is cost? What is its nature? Para aha maning cost. I guess familiar mo what costs are. So we have a difference here. Okay, the difference between nature and cost. Okay, so I guess familiar mo, what is the difference between cost and expense? Okay, unsa daw ang kalahian sa cost and expense? Actually, these are two different things. Talagsa kay gina-interchange siya kay same daw sila meaning. But specifically, they are not the same because costs are those acquisitions for assets. Mostly this is for assets ang ginabuying. You are buying for assets, while expenses are those um, for operations, for activities. Most of those are for activities. So that is the general difference between cost and expense. So hopefully dili mo maglibog between the difference between cost and expense. So let's continue. So a cost is relevant if it is affected by a management decision. So cost is relevant. I heard daw siya emphasize ang yang value if it is affected by a decision. So its main purpose, good, it serves its purpose when it is part of the decision making na process because costs play a big part in those areas, in those processes. Next, we have historical cost. Okay, again, a cost is relevant if it is affected by a management decision. So we have different types of costs that are very relevant or helpful when it comes to doing crucial decision making. So we have historical cost and replacement cost. So historical cost is incurred at the time of procurement. So these costs are at a given or at it or rather it these costs are at a given at a given time, a given place in time. So more on its history, okay, history of transactions, history of purchase. So that is what we call historical cost. So incurred at the time of procurement. When you bought a specific expense or when you bought a specific asset and so on and so forth. While we have replacement cost, so it is necessary to replace inventory. So replacement cost is for replenishment, for replacing or renewing our refreshing. What should be refresh without refreshing or replenishing? Okay, replenish your inventory. So inventory should not be zero for you to have enough. Okay, enough products or goods to sell. So that is replacement cost. So this is the imuhang gasto in order to replace inventory. So do you think, again, these are at least two of the most important costs that is greatly affects our decision-making processes. Next is, are historical costs even relevant? Why do you think our kanaatuang historical cost is relevant? Actually, it is relevant in terms of, okay, in terms of knowing, okay, knowing our previous transactions, knowing our previous expenses nga gipanghimo as part of an activity, as you'll know how much have you progressed, how much has increased or decreased in the cost or in the purchases you had made during a specific time. Let's say you had been buying, okay, buying the same raw materials. So you had written down the cost of purchasing that one. So those are historical costs. So since 2018, 19, 20, you'll see the pattern, okay, how much cost increased or decreased throughout or over time. So probably from barato kay nga mushroom up to nimahal siya nga nimahal. So that's why it is very relevant. So there are also two types of cost. Okay, we have different and many types of cost. So this one is based on economic analysis. So two types of costs associated with, again, economic analysis. We have what we call opportunity cost and out-of-pocket cost. So I guess familiar mo sa word opportunity cost. So this is actually the value that is foregone in choosing one activity over the next best alternative. So from the word itself, opportunity cost. Masyag kanang imuhang nasayang bitaw nga chance. Okay. Nasayang nga cost or value kay na kay mas gipili. So let's say for example, gipapili ka og mushroom. Okay, you have two different types of mushroom. The typical mushroom ug katong ay local mushroom ug imported mushroom. So with that, let's say we have a difference, great difference here. Daghan kayo og quantity ang local, okay, local mushroom compared to sa imported mushroom. Gamay ra niyang volume. So, imong plan is you wanted to buy the imported ones kay mas dyan sila quality. But, ang nakakuan lang sila is gamay ra sila. Let's say, only 100 pieces. Unya imong need kay 500. In which, ang local nga mushroom is moabot og 1,000 ka pieces. But mas mo prefer lagi daw ka sa imported mushroom because it has good quality as per your observation or preference. So with that, mas gibay nimo si imported mushroom na 100 ka pieces. So you have an opportunity cost there. The opportunity cost is you could have produced more, let's say mushroom chicharon. So mas daghan unta kag ma-produce ng mushroom chicharon if local mushroom imong use. Compared to the imported mushroom nga gamay ra sila kabuo. So that is what we call opportunity cost. Again, imuhang more siya gi-deprive ang opportunity to produce many or a high amount of products or goods, which is the mushroom chicharon. Mas imo manggong gipili tong isa. So that is what we call opportunity cost. So ang probability or possibility of gaining more sales had been it had been compromised. So that is what we call opportunity cost. Compromising the cost or the value of another because you chose the next alternative, which is for you. Do you think um, which is based on your preference rather, based on you, nga imong paminaw nga mas profitable ka na or mas um, appealing siya sa imo then okay, it always depends on you, okay? We always have many types of opportunity cost. So that's again based on economic analysis. Next is out-of-pocket cost. So it is actual transfer of value that occur. So out-of-pocket cost, actual transfer of value. Okay, out-of-pocket costs are mostly those expenses. Okay, expenses nga in which more siya kuan over the budget, good as over the budget na siya. So that means nga na shortage ka and wala ka expect nga napam the other cost. And with that, you have out of pocket costs. So those costs nga ga, ga accumulate, okay, they accumulate um over the budgeted na cost. Let's say, for example, you have 100 na yung budget sa mushroom ay raw resources, which is the mushroom. So yung raw material ng mushroom is 100 imuhang gibutang nga budget. And with that, pag adun mo sa merkado is 150 na di ay. Okay, 150 ang kilo. So you have an out-of-pocket cost of 50, which is what we call marsyag sobra sa imong budget. So natagak nga nakatapal ka. Okay, mura ka og nagtapal. So that is on your discretion whether imuhang taplan ang 50 or mo stick ka sa 100. So that is what we call out of pocket cost. So same siya sa opportunity cost. So again, based on economic analysis. So it is still on your discretion as to which cost would be more relevant to you. Would you take the opportunity cost? Would you compromise the opportunity cost or would you also take the out-of-pocket cost? Willing ba ka mo tapal? Do you have enough money to tapal? And so on and so forth. So for you, what do you think is the most relevant na cost? So which cost is more relevant? So probably it is opportunity cost. Okay, for you mag-kuan ka ma-realize mo nga hala masayang na ko ang isa kay gipili na ko ang isa. Or is it you willing to compromise by sacrificing some of your, let's say, personal money in order to accommodate those out of pocket costs, which are expenses again that occur um, beyond your budget. So actually all of both of these costs are very relevant. You really need to take note. Okay, these actually happens and even us, we can really apply them. I think kabantay naman sa inyong life. I know I have many opportunity costs. Talaga sa makarealize ka nga, what if, okay, what if mas ni-study ko? What if naghimo ko dito sa ako ang mga classwork? Okay, probably akong opportunity cost is nakalaag na unta ko, na naunta ko karon sa dagat. So that's your opportunity cost. If you plan on doing your activities late. So the opportunity cost is wala nakakauban sa imuhang mga friends nga nag-outing. Kay dugay man ka naghimo sa imuhang mga activities or sa imong mga assignment. So I heard din ka nagka-good. So that's opportunity cost. So let's continue. Also, there are also two types of costs associated with time. We have two types of cost here. So we have incremental cost and sunk cost. So incremental cost varies with the range of options available in the decision-making process. So this is more katulad ng cost nga based on options. So based on time, incremental cost, and also it is sometimes called marginal cost actually. So in every additional unit that you add, in every additional unit that you are going to add in your production, to produce more rather, that means you have incremental cost. So let's say you have 50, okay, 50 pesos per pack sa mushroom chicharon. So if maghimo pa daw ka or mag-produce pa ka of additional, let's say 100 pieces. Yeah, you plan on adding, okay, another 50. So it will accumulate incremental cost. So in each or additional nga products in i-produce, na po siya cost nga mo na siya additional cost na sad. Additional cost siya for you kay. Let's say for example, binulto imong paghimo sa mushroom chicharon. So based on machine, automatic yun na nga 100 pieces yang i-produce. Then you plan to produce another 5. So you are going to use the same, okay, the same cost in producing the 100 to create the 5. Okay? So that's why we have incremental cost. So more siya additional na po ng gasto if you plan on producing additional nga products or goods and services too. Next is sunk cost. So it does not vary with decision options. Okay, we have sunk cost. Okay, sunk cost is actually a cost that has already been incurred and cannot be recovered. So these as good as bygone and not taken into consideration when deciding whether to continue an investment project. So sunk cost is more siya og money that has already been spent and cannot be recovered. Dili na siya ma-recover nga money. So most of it is sometimes we call it more depreciation. So, very good example, depreciation. So, that is good as sunk cost. Okay, dili naman siya ma-use or magamit. Again, sunk cost is based on the utility of a given asset. So, most of the time, these are again expenses nga nagasto and dili na ma-recover. Okay? So, more good po na siyang example ta sa scenario sa sunk cost. So, you plan to do katong bagong investment scheme karon. Or let's say for example, kapa, may pang kapa. So, kapa, nag-invest ka sa kapa. So, let's say 10,000. Then, ikalit lang siya o close. So, dili na nimo ma-recover si 10,000. So, that is what we call sunk cost. Okay? So, something like that si sunk cost. So, do you think it is relevant? Relevant ba ni sunk cost? Why do we need to consider this one too? Actually, yes, it is because sunk costs are very murag negative ang iyang ihatag sa imong financial statements because these are costs na dili na ma-recover. More siya og automatic loss sa imuha. So you are not benefiting in any of this costs. So that's why it is very relevant to know what are those sunk costs available or um present in your financial statement in your operations so that if possible ligayan gid nimo ang sunk cost. So those are just some of the basic nature of cost. So let's continue. So what do you think is the relationship? Okay, we are already done with productions and cost functions. Okay, production function and cost functions. What do you think are their relationship? Okay, in a minute. So, okay, before that, we still have the final slide. So, a firm's cost structure is related to the production process. So, if you know your cost structure in your business, okay, kabalo ka unsa tong mga cost nga present sa imong business. Okay. Unsa tong cost nga present sa imong business? We have what we call the explicit cost as example and implicit cost. Okay, explicit costs are sometimes katong out-of-pocket costs for a firm, such as katong wages, salaries, rent, or materials. So explicit is mga gasto nimo sa imong firm. So for your operation, such as mga rent, materials, sweldo, and so on and so forth. While implicit costs are opportunity costs of resources already owned by the firm and used in business. So for example, expanding a factory into land already owned. Again, explicit is out of pocket cost. So these are sometimes some examples of these are katong mga wages, salaries, rent. So those are from your pocket itself sa business. So meron siya gi-rolling ang money, especially if masobraan siya sometimes. While we also have what we call implicit. So implicit costs are mostly opportunity costs. So for example, you are going to have a business. So your opportunity cost kay imuhang gi-use ang imuhang yuta in order to tukod your store. So with that, your yuta is your implicit cost. Kaya pwede man unta nimo siya mag-use in other types of resources such as pwede nimo siya tamnan, pwede nimo siya tukudan og balay or and so on and so forth. So you have many opportunity costs on top. So that is what we call implicit, while explicit again are mostly out of pocket na cost or especially for the operations of your business. So dili na siya nimo own nga mga money. So the firm structure, cost structure is related to the production process. So related gid ni sila duha. So related gid ni sila duha because cost and production are really part of the same process itself, which is to offer your goods or services. So costs are determined by the production technology and input prices. So ato ang mga gasto, atong cost and expense is based, okay, determined gid siya always sa technology nga imong use and the prices of the inputs. Let's say for example, you have mushroom chicharron. So the price of input prices is katong raw materials, which are the mushroom chicharron. So raw materials for mushroom chicharron is 100 per kilo. So that is an input price. While production technology, imong use is kuan siguro siya kanang hands-on siguro siya nga pagka-produce. So you are using your hands as your production technology. You just need to follow the process. Wala ka nag-hire a machine. So those, again, all of those expenses na occur, it will really reflect on your cost, on the total cost there is, whether it is a fixed cost or a variable cost. So more on determined on what are those um, technology or prices that you had input, okay, based on production function gid siya, or the key the key aspects in the production function really affects the total, okay, the total number or amount of cost there is. So we are going to assume that the firm is a price taker in an input market. So with the assumption now we are price takers. We take a price. Price takers means you have the power, okay? You have the buying power to bargain. Okay, this is the assumption nga price taker daw ka, dili ka gusto mag-use sa imong buyer power because you really follow, let's say, follow and promote or support local. So dili ka gahangyo or dili ka ask for discount. So that is just an assumption. So that is the true nature of cost. So again, how do they really relate? Production and cost functions. So we have different actually types of cost here. So we have, I guess, familiar mo sa variable cost. We have total variable cost. So it is sometimes called TVC. So it is associated with a variable input. So variable costs are those dili siya fixed nga cost or dili siya fixed nga mga asset yapon mo siya variable assets or non-current assets. So we assume that W, let's say W is 500 per unit. So price taker daw ka. So you are paying in full amount, which is the 500 pesos. So the assumption is 500. So let's have an example. So we have what we call total profit and total variable cost here. Okay, sorry, this is actually total production. Okay, total production and total variable cost. So they are actually mirror image of each other. So as you can see here, we have X and Y axis. So in the x-axis, we have quantity, thousands. In the y-axis is labor, is to cost. So quantity and labor, so this is the production function. So as you can see here, it is increasing. So diminishing siya at some point, which is at 10,000 na quantity nga produce. So it is actually diminishing at some point, probably here. So as you can see, same lang gid sila sa total variable cost. So quantity is to cost. So it is also diminishing. So we have diminishing. Sometimes the variable costs are marginal costs. So you have diminishing marginal, yes, diminishing marginal cost. So example. So as you can see here, same lang gid sila sa ato ang production function and cost function. We have what we call total cost or TC. So it is the cost associated with all of the inputs. So sum of TVC and TFC. I guess familiar mo sa TFC, total fixed cost. So don't worry, these numbers are usually given. So total variable cost and fixed cost. So that this is the formula. Total cost is equals to again TFC plus TVC. So we also have marginal and average cost. So this is under total cost. So these two costs has this interpretation. So tool set for production cost and analysis versus production process analysis. So most of the time, total cost again includes marginal cost and average cost. Marginal is per unit, while average is as a whole. Okay, the sum total of the cost there is. So that is marginal and average cost. So it can be denoted as MC. Marginal cost, MC, is the change in total cost associated with a change in output. So that is actually what MC is. Again, percent change in total cost associated with a change in output. So MC is equals to percent change in total cost over percent change in quantity or output. So as you can see here, kuan siya ka nang breakdown. So TC, okay, I guess familiar mo ka ganina, TFC plus TVC. So that would be change siya, divide, then both sides. Okay, multiply then divide both sides. So you can get at least 0 plus TVC over quantity. So this is how the um, expression will be. It's either marginal cost is equals to TC over Q or TVC over Q. Okay, it always depends. Okay, on what is given. So we have an example here. So we can add marginal cost to the table. As you can see here, we have input. So that is L. So that input used here is labor, while our quantity is the total production. Okay, total production quantity. Bilang na produce. So that would be 1,000 up to 9,850. While we have what we call MP, okay, marginal product. So that would be 1,000, 2,000, and so on and so forth. And it's going on a negative. Negative. So most of the time, our marginals is going negative or downward sloping. And lastly, we have total variable cost. So is about labor. Okay, the function of labor. We have 500, 1,000, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500. So actually, it is computed by this one. Okay, let's try to look at this table. We have input, again, quantity, marginal product, and total variable cost. So it is the function of the input, okay, total input labor. So let's look at how we calculate our TVC here. I hope you can see my screen. So this is actually automatically multiplied by 500. So let's say our labor is at 500. 500 daw ato ang payment sila. That's an example. So total variable cost for labor is 500, in which you'll get, okay, 500 here, 500. So that would be 500 times the input, so WL. So 500 multiplied by 1, so 500. 500 multiplied by 2, 1,000. 500 multiplied by 3, 1,500, and so on and so forth. So that is the total variable cost based on the total number of inputs. So we are going to add our marginal cost to the table here. So let's continue and add MC. So marginal cost. So here it is. So as you can see, it is still here in this table. So how do we get our marginal cost? It is actually, okay, total variable cost over MP. Okay, TVC over MP. I'll put it something like that. So TVC is equals to MP. Kaya na lang. TVC is equals to MP. So that is equals to MC. Okay. MC. So that's how to get marginal cost. So you are just going to divide total variable cost with the marginal product. Okay, marginal profit. Okay, marginal product here. So that is MP. When MP is increasing, MC is decreasing. So when the marginal product is increasing now, MC is decreasing, and so on and so forth. As you can see, it also decreases at some point, our marginal cost. Then when MP is decreasing, MC is increasing. So the more it is decreasing, the higher the marginal cost is. So as you can see here, okay, at 1,000 daw na MP, marginal product, our MC is equals to gamay ka siya, 0.50. So the higher the value, the lesser our MC is. So they have a negative na relationship imong production, imong production and imong cost. So marginal product and marginal cost. The higher, again, the MP, the lesser the MC. So we have their relationship here between MP and MC. So this would be shown as TVC over Q equals to W multiplied by the percent change in labor in quantity. So this is actually total variable cost until we'll get this formula. So um, W or W is equals to MP. Okay, in a minute. Okay, W is equals to MP or TVC. Okay, TVC is equals to MP to get our MC. In a minute, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, here. So again, MC is W. Okay, W which is the TVC over MP. So we have law of diminishing returns, which implies that MC will eventually increase. Why do you think that our cost would increase based on the law of diminishing returns? So it would increase because the more, okay, or MC rather, the more um, product will diminish. Okay, that means that the more number or volume of product we are going to produce, okay, the higher the quantity, the higher our cost also. So again, in every marginal product na gina-produce, and an accumulation of an increase in cost too per unit. Well, will eventually increase our cost. Again, in every additional product produced, an additional cost will also accumulate or is being produced. So more siya og kung mag-add pa gyud ka og additional na product or maghimo pa gyud ka additional, it would give you a higher type of cost. Mas magastuan ka compared to magbulto ka og palit or use. So let's continue. So that is their again relationship. So mostly they have a negative relationship. So productivity, okay, MP marginal product and marginal cost are they have a negative relationship. So when we add or produce another, okay, another unit of product, another unit of cost will also arise. So the more we are going to add more product, the lesser, okay, the lesser the cost is. So the lesser the product will make, the higher the cost is. We also have what we call the short run cost function. So we have at least two types of cost functions here, short run and long run. So in the short run, we have what we call the total average cost. So these are some of the cost that is found in the short run cost function. We have ATC or average total cost. So it is the average per unit cost of using all of the firm's inputs. So average siya sa total cost. So from the word itself, so average per unit cost of all the firm's inputs. So that would be denoted by this formula, total cost over quantity, in order to get the average total cost. Well, we have average variable cost, that is AVC. it is the average per unit cost of using the firm's variable inputs. Ganina kay all inputs man. So that's why total. While for average variable cost, it is more like the variable inputs. So it's average. So ay ka mag-average if you have already solved or calculated the total. So we have total variable cost here divided by the total input, okay, per unit cost rather, of a given value. So average variable cost. Next is average fixed cost. We have AFC here. So it is the average per unit cost of using the firm's fixed inputs such as TFC over Q. So from the word itself, fixed cost. So average fixed cost is more on the total. Okay, based on the total, how much would be the average na cost na acquire or ginakuan sa company, himo or gina-use. So these are some of the short-run cost functions, ATC, ABC, and AFC. So we have this table. We are going to add ATC, AFC plus ABC to the table. I hope you can see my screen. So actually, same runs lang a table ha. Kurang di pa kita. Okay, same as like table. We have quantity here. Okay, quantity 0 to 12. We have total fixed cost. So fixed man siya. So the total fixed cost is 100 throughout the number of quantity. So bisag pila pa naka quantity yung gina-produce, fixed gid ang iyahang cost. 100 gid na siya always. So regardless of how many you'll be making or producing. Next is total variable cost. So total variable cost is where, okay, actually given po ni siya. Given always ang atong fixed cost and variable cost. At least, kani sila nga mga values are a given. Okay, again, kani sila nga mga values are a given. So how can we get the total cost? So that is adding, so ako siya i-delete ha para maklaro ninyo. So actually, imo rang gi-add ang fixed and variable cost. So as you can see here in the table, so that would be, okay, I'll just use Excel ha for more mas klaro. So ako rang gi-add TFC plus TVC here. So the answer would be 100. So next is, okay, TFC plus TVC. That is 155. So we are correct with our data, and so on and so forth. Okay, let's say for example, modo na nahitabo. So that is the total cost. Imo rang gi-add again ang fixed and total variable cost. So ako siyang i-shortcut diretso because I'm actually using Excel para mas klaro siya sa amuwag sa inyo nga part. Okay, in a minute. So that is total fixed cost. Gi-add lang nimo again ang fixed, total fixed, and total variable to get the total cost. So how about the average fixed cost? Okay, as you can see here, ako lang i-delete first para mas magkaroon namin. So based on the given, the total fixed, the average fixed cost is, we are going to use this formula. So that would be TFC over Q. So here, TFC over Q. You can see here. So that is the average fixed cost. So I'll be using again the Excel para mas klaro or mas dali siya. Hopefully makafollow lang mo. So I'll just put it here for mas obvious so you can see. So that would be again TFC divide quantity. So this would be actually 0. So that would be TFC divides quantity. So this is the formula, okay, for an Excel. So, typical na mag-add. Mas dalier siya. So, that would be 100. Next is 100 divide 2. That is 50. 100 divide 3, 33, and so on and so forth. So, let's assume na we are done. Okay, 150 up to 8.33. Yung ana nakadali pangitaon ang average fixed cost. So, gi-divide na gyud nimo ang TFC over the quantity. So, how about variable cost? So, the typical, obvious kayo nga niyahang, oh no, ang iyahang formula nga gigamit is TVC over Q. Kanina po atong gamiton. So, I'll just highlight it first para maklaro ninyo. So, that would be, okay, quantity and TVC. So, this is how to do this one. So, that is TVC divide the quantity. That's how you'll get the average fixed cost. So, that is 55.70. So, next, we have again TVC over Q equals to TVC over Q. So, it is as good as ingani ha. Kasi maglibog mo ba? So, it is as good as, let's say, for example, number 30. So, 153.90 divide 3. So, that is 51.30. So, we are correct. I'm using Excel para mas dali siya ma-solve. So, and so on and so forth. You'll just use the TVC divide the quantity. So, you'll get those answers na dayon. As you can see here, mo ang average variable cost. So, how about the average total cost? So, from the word itself, you just need to add this two. Okay? You just need to add this two to get the average fixed cost. So, as simple as kanio equals to AFC plus AVC. So, that is 155 and so on and so forth. So, that's how you'll get the average total cost. So, more to siya itong insert actually sa table. So, that is how we are going to get the average fixed cost and average variable cost. So, the average total cost is as good as just adding the two costs at the same time. So, these costs. So, that's how to fill up the table. So, next is, okay, we are going to add marginal cost. Ako na siyang i-add. So, this is typically based on, as we can see, we had discussed earlier, marginal cost is W over MP or TVC over quantity. So, product. So, that is, it is this formula, TVC over quantity. So, that is as good as, again, this one is mostly based on past and previous, okay? Because it is more likely marginal. So that's why kaning formula itong use. So this is actually the present minus past value. Okay. Both values here para mas klaro sa inyo. Present, okay. Present minus, okay, that would be 55 minus 0 over 1 minus 0. So we'll get a number of value of 55.7. Next is this one. So for quantity of 2, we have 105.60 less 55.70 divide 2 over 1. So you'll get this number and so on and so forth. So good as past minus present ang iyahang value. So that's how you'll get your marginal cost. So I hope that's clear to all of you. If not, I'll illustrate it in a more mas klaro nga manner. So let's try to I'll try to write it down for all of you, so you'll have notes too. So I'll put short run here. So this would be the title, short run cost function. So actually, this is good as, okay, I'll just put here, short run cost function. So we have, for example, we have this table. So we have quantity here, quantity of a 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is an example. We have ATFC, okay, total fixed cost. So a total fixed cost of 100 dollars per unit. So in every unit produced, not in every unit, but in every quantity produced, regardless of how much, you'll have the same total fixed cost. So this is an example. So next, I guess more the on. I'll just use the letter. So next would be the total variable cost. So total variable cost is given Japonisha. Let's have a 0 here. Let's have 55.70, 105, 105.60, 153.90, and 204. So let's say these are givens. 204.80. So that is for the, okay, in a minute. That is for the total variable cost. So we just need to look for, I'll just color it here, total cost. I can run green. Need to, oh, blue na lang. We'll need to look for total cost. Okay, TC here. So you just need to add, okay, you just need to add these values. So total fixed and total variable to get the fixed total cost. Okay. Total cost for both would be 100. For the first one, 0. Next would be 100 plus 155 here. Just need to add this both. So you'll get 155.70. Next would be here, 100 plus 105.60. So that is 205.60. Next is this one. Okay, that would be, okay, in a minute. That would be 253.90. Adan na mo siya 100. Next would be the last one. So at quantity of 4. So it is the same with our given here. So that's how we'll get our total fixed cost. Next would be our average fixed cost. How do we get the average fixed cost? Okay. Okay. Let's try to solve for the average fixed cost. So average fixed cost is actually based on, okay, the formula for average fixed cost is this one. TFC, total fixed cost divided the quantity. So that is its formula. TFC over quantity. So let's have this one. So this is automatically 0 on first. So let's try to use the calculator para mas claro. So this would be, okay, number 1. Oh no, there are mga siya actually di ay. In a minute. So number 1 is 100 divide 0, that is undefined or dili pwede siya yung formula. So next would be, oh no. Next would be, ako siya palakan. 100 divide 1, so this is automatically 100. 100 divide 2, 50. 100 divide 3, that is 33.33. Oh, 33.33. Well, 100 divided 4 is 25. So this is the average fixed cost. So that's how you'll get the average fixed cost. So let's continue our table. So I guess magpuno na akong table here. Let's continue here. Okay. Next up would be the average fixed cost. So I guess familiar mo what the average fixed cost is. So that is actually total TVC over quantity. So TVC over quantity, let's try to solve this one. So TVC is 55 over 1. The first one is 0. That would be 55.70. Okay, next would be TVC. 105.60 divided 2. You'll get a 52.28. 52.28. Next would be 153.90. 153.90 divide 30. 51.3. 51.30. And lastly, we have, okay, this is correct. 304 point, no, 204.80. This would be 204.80 divide 4. You'll get a 51.2. 1.20. So this is the average um, variable cost. Next is we are going to solve for the average total cost. So from the word itself, total cost. You just need to add both, okay, add both fixed AFC and AVC. So let's try to add them. Okay, in a minute. Let's have, for example, here 100 plus 55. So that is 155. Oh no, that is 155.70. Next would be 50 plus 52.80. That would be 102.8. 2.8.80. Just put 80 here. Next would be, okay, 33.33 plus 51.30. You'll get 84.63. 84.63. And lastly, we have 25 plus 51.20. You'll get 76.220. So this is the average total cost. And the last thing we'll need to solve is our MC, or marginal cost. Marginal cost is actually, I'll just write the formula here. Okay, percent change in total variable cost over percent change in quantity. So this is how we are going to solve this one. So that would be good as 105.60 minus 55.70 over 1, I know, 2 minus 1. So let's try to solve this one. So this is on number 2. So that would be 105.60 minus 55.70 is equals to 49.9 divided 1, which is 49.9. So this is number 2. So this is correct. So that's how you'll solve the marginal cost. Okay. So marginal cost, you can use which formula would be better. So percent change, most of the time percent change is going percent change is we are going to use this formula. So this would be present less the past. So that is an example for our marginal cost. So let's try to solve this one. So human naman to sa number. Okay, actually number one is 55.70 given nga wala tayo value for um its past. Next would be 49.90. So the next one would be, let's try to solve it here. Next one would be number 3. So that would be 153.90 less 105.660, no, 60, divide, this is actually 3 minus 2 is 1, divide 1. The answer is 48.30. So this is correct with our given. The last one. So this would be, the last one would be 204. 204.80 less 153.90. That would be 50.90. So divide 1 with us 50.90. 50.90. So this is the marginal cost. So this is how you are going to um solve for and complete this cost function nga table. Short run cost function nga table. So you just need to add and look for the following values. So let's continue. So you'll just need to focus on the formulas that is given and the values that are also stated. Okay, so let's continue. So I hope nga nakuha to ninyo. Ang kuan na yun, ang importante is ma-complete nimo ang table given na most of these already has its formula. So just familiarize yourself with the formula. So let's continue. So this is the production cost graph or map. So as you can see here, we have total cost, variable cost, fixed cost, average variable cost, and marginal cost. So as you can see, based on the given graph, we have a quantity up to 12. So TFC is constant. Kaniyo, makita ninyo. So constant siya nga fixed at 100. So this is actually 100. Fixed siya throughout whatever number of quantities there is. And as you can see, total variable cost is increasing as well as the total cost. While for curve B, we have marginal cost here. So pasaka siya. While our AC is, it diminished at some point. So it is gradually increasing as well as our average variable cost. So they are gradually increasing as you can see for both of them. So this is how we are going to graph them in a specific graph. So let's try to graph them down in a minute. So I hope you can see my screen. So let's have this as an example. So let's try to put up the graph. So from 0 to 12, so this would be, okay, so this would be the price. Put price here because it would be based on cost. Put price, peso, and quantity. So let's assume we have this number here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So next would be the prices. So it would range from 100. Okay. 100 to 1,200. So here, from 0 to 1,200. I guess this would be our price ceiling. 1 to 100, 200, 300, 400. Actually, pare-parehan sila. 600, 800, 1,000, and 1,200, and so on and so forth. So let's see, modo na siya ang atoang prices. So price and input, x and y axis. So let's try to plot it. So the first one would be, okay, based on our table, this is how we are going to plot it. So based on our table, we have a total fixed cost. So total fixed cost from quantity 0 up to 12, it is consistently, okay, consistent siya at 100. Okay, sorry kay kung agi. This would be our total fixed cost, TFC. So let's try to plot the other. What about total variable cost? So at quantity of 1 is to 100, so that is 55. So as you can see here, okay, TVC. So that would be 55. So probably here, below 100 man siya. So 55. So let's assume this is how it would look like. 55, 1 is to 100. Next is at quantity of 2, rather. Quantity of 2, we have a total variable of 105. So it is gradually increasing. So gamay, increase siya gamay. Ako siya yung color of red. So here, increase siya at 105 at 2. Pagka 3 then kay 153. So wala ra pud siya increase. Next is 204. So it is gradually increasing. At 5, there is, okay, it is actually something like this, ha, paana, paana. Number 5, okay, 5 would be 262. So, moment and 200, so 62 man daw, almost 300. So we'll plot it somewhere over here. Next is 331. So at quantity of 6, 331. Next is 415. At 7, 415. 518. So at 8 rather. At 8, mga 518. At 9, mga 645. At 10 would be 800. 11 would be at 980. 0. Let's say, for example, kana daw siya. Kulang siya 0 o no. And at quantity of 12, it would be at 1209. So, pataas yun siya nga pataas. So, that's it for, okay, this is actually how you are going to graph it. So, this is actually for our total variable cost. TVC. Total variable cost. How about total cost? So, same lang yapon sila. You just need to plot it one by one. So, 100 daw. Oh no, 100. So, there is 100. I'll just use other color, green. This would be 100. Next is 155, same thing. 205, increase gamay. 253, 304, 362, 431 at quantity of 6, 515, 618, 745. Let's say dito na siya, 745. 745, 900, and 1. Ito siya, ay wala ko 11. 11 is 1,000, kapin, almost 2. At 9, at 10, oh wala ko 10. 10 is at 900. And lastly, 1, 3. Layo na kayo siya. So that's how we are going to plot it based on our numbers sa table. So same sila og gini TVC or variable cost. So this is TC. So this is how we are going to plot it in a graph. TC. So based on the events here. So you can proceed for marginal cost to account AC, average cost, and average variable cost. So that's what the graph has been plotted. Okay, that's how it is plotted actually. So medyo hiwi lang yun kaya ako, so I apologize for that. But overall, this is how it would really look like. So let's continue. So we have many important map observations. As you can see in the observation, AFC declines steadily over the range of production. Why do you think that our average fixed cost declines steadily over the range of production? So we have average fixed cost here. It gradually declines. Ano kaya? Ang fixed cost kay gakagamay nagkakagamay. So actually, again, in reality, our fixed cost is depreciating. Depreciate yun na siya. Mas mugamay na mugamay. The more quantity you'll use, the lesser its fixed cost would be. Okay, that is why it declines steadily over the range of production. So in general, why does the average total cost is U-shaped? Why do you think so? Is it U-shaped? Average, okay, ATC, average total cost. Ano kang U-shape daw siya? It would be here. So mura daw siya pa U. What do you think so? Because it is due to the difference. Okay, difference in ranges too. So our ATC has kung i-plot ni siya, more siya kuan, U-shape nga curve pa U. It is because the factors, okay, especially our AFC, it diminishes over time. So the lesser the fixed cost is, the higher. More siya negative. Okay, negative relationship ang AFC ug AVC. So the higher the AFC, the lesser the AVC. And the lesser the AFC, the higher the AVC. That's why there is a more pa U-shape siya ang atong average total of cost. Okay, in a minute. So that is why. Again, negative relationship between ATC and AFC. So MC intersects the minimum point on ATC. Why do you think so? They intersect at some point, mostly the minimum point daw sa ATC, average total cost. So this is it. Muna siyang U-shape actually. Kuan siya, intersect at some point. Why do you think so? Are they intersecting? So let's look at the table. So at point, okay, that would be at point 6. point 6, they have the same. So they are intersecting. It is due to, again, um, fixed cost and variable cost has a difference, big difference, which can cause a curve. And they are intersecting due to, naman to siya. Number 6 here. Okay, they are intersecting at point C. Okay, here, number 6, because of the minimum point. So the minimum would be at 6. So at least this is where mag-start naman good og decline, or it's either mag-start of increase or decrease. Depende. Would it be the fixed cost or average cost ang mag-decrease? So this is where mo siya og break-even point nila. Dili sila again, mag-even out, whether it is increasing after or decreasing. But most of the time, it would be increasing. So at some point here, pa-increase na dayon ang ito ang mga values for both total cost and marginal cost. So, what is the economic significance of Q? Okay, we have quantity here, so that would be the minimum point. What do you think its economic significance? Okay, its economic significance is actually more siya og diri na mag-meet, diri nga point na mag-meet ang katong mga cost. We have um economic opportunity cost. Okay, we have opportunity cost here and out of pocket cost. So this is where Marshall threshold in which you'll know whether you are increasing your cost or decreasing. So you'll make um, critical decision making when it comes to your finances here, when it comes to your production here, whether you'll continue your operation or you'll adjust. That's what it signifies. So the break-even point. So I guess I'll be ending here. I'll continue my discussion in my next video. So if you have any questions, please feel free to message me anytime. And this is all for today. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.